Okay, so this stuff looks pretty recognizable, but everything's on one shelf now. And it happened, the reason why my monitor is mounted to the stud here is because it actually fell off the shelf. I was actually trying to pull some cables down, and one got caught on the monitor and it fell to the ground and broke the stand. Well, it ended up working out better. Now I just gotta make a shelf down here for the keyboard, mouse, which actually I believe I do have one. But let's start up at the top. Got the same old TrendNet switch. You can actually see it a little better now. Of course, this is all 10100, so it's nothing special there. That just feeds the entire house for people to plug in basic Ethernet with one port to spare, and that's probably for my tape drive. The next one here, this feeds up to my office with my computers as being on gigabit. Since this is not a true gigabit switch, it's not all 24 ports, it's actually a 26 port switch with 2 gigabit ports. And so this one goes to my office, and this one goes to this one actually goes over to the fiber media converter that I'll show you in a second. Over here you can see it's a brand new, it's old new stock. It's a brand new D-Link DGS 3204 gigabit switch, and it's actually gigabit fiber. And here's all the fiber leads, and it's I'd say about the same size as my 24 port switch, but it only has 4 ports, which is well, wish I had more, but what are you gonna do? It actually over here is a dedicated area for the power supply, and it's kind of like the Netgear gigabit fiber switch I have, and I'll show you that in a second also. And I'll actually show you the inside of the gigabit fiber switch. So this is actually a feed line for the fiber optic. It's actually copper, and it gets converted over to the fiber optic. File sharing between all these fiber optic nodes is ridiculous. I believe I get about between 20 and 40 megabits per second, so it's pretty freaking fast. I transferred a 600 meg file in less than 4 seconds, I think it was. It's ridiculous. As you guys know, the plasma tape drive made its first debut. Other video. Got the firewall. I'll take you in the back again and show you. And then, of course, the file server, NAS server. It's actually, I made a mistake. It's got 9 drives, and we're probably doing about 3.2 tears on it. Down there is the domain controller, and then the battery backups there. I actually, when I moved all this, I had to run a new power tap over here for a 20 amp circuit with the horizontal bladed plug, which is 20 amp. It's still 110, but so we come on over to the back here, and what I did with the cabling was I thought was kind of neat is droop the it was just for kind of like a look thing, authentic server room style look. I drooped the fiber optic cable coming from the front to the switch to the back, and these 2 leads go down to the servers, as you can see. And it's just like a regular Ethernet switch or Ethernet card. It does the link and act. I don't know what the LED 1 and 2 is for, but I'll read up on that and let you guys know. This cord is in the way. That's actually going to the cable modem. Down here is the same way. You need a SCSI connection. And you get 2 fans. This is where it used to be plugged into. That's only 10100. Next thing on the list, we got the back of the tape drive. You guys can see it a little bit better. And the Ethernet was plugged in last time, and I've got to replug it in, but just really haven't gotten a chance to at this time. I got the SCSI cable all nice and rolled up and out of the way. It's still still a work in progress. This is still rough draft. I still got a lot of tidying up to do. I just haven't had the time to do it. Got a lot of other things going on. This is the back of the firewall, as I showed you. Put a new gigabit, brand new. Picked it up really cheap. I think I picked it up for like 10 bucks, free shipping. Dual port gigabit Ethernet card. And so some things have changed since the last video. I always had the KVM. Since I'm only running 2 devices down here with video cards, this IO Gear KVM switch never let me down. I've had it for a couple years. It does a phenomenal job for what I need it to do, and it goes to these 2 machines here. And let's get a picture of the cable up here again. This is a little knotted up. This was like 150 meters, so it was like 164 feet of cable, and I guess I just asked for too much cable. I'm sure I would have done well with 30 meters. This goes to the other side of my house, and of course I guess it's not 164 feet to the other side of the house, and I still have a bundle on the other side too. Not like that big, but I still have a bundle, so that's kind of a little bit of a mess. But once you get something that huge, it's kind of hard to roll it back up. I got some more fiber in the mail today, and this is actually the lead connector to this is the uplink to the switch, the fiber optic switch. So that was a little extra cable than I needed, but it was really cheap. It was cheaper to buy the extra cable than buy a small one. So I said, well, hell, I might as well buy the bigger ones in case I need to move anything at any time. Okay, let's come down to this wall here, and first of all, we'll go, it's upside down, I know. This is the fiber converter. It's made by TreadNet. It makes some really good stuff. As I was showing to you, that gray cable on the front going to the gigabit port on the switch there is coming to this fiber converter, and it's STP, it's shielded twisted pair. So it keeps all the refracts the electrical magnetics a little bit easier than UDP, which is unshielded twisted pair. And then in here it just converts all the information. It's just a single small little circuit board, and I'll pull it out one of these days and show it to you, but right now I've got things going on and I can't interrupt the connection. But here's the 2 leads. And with fiber, it's always a crossover. So right now we have, I don't know if you guys can see that, it says RX right there and TX right there. Give you overlook, RX and TX right there. The red is in the RX because the red on the other side is in the TX, and the black is in the TX, and the black on the switch is in the RX. That means transmission and receive transfer. And next, last but not least, and I'm sure this video won't come out until I get everything straightened up, and it's including the entire basement, my work center and everything, entire server rack here. Even though it's not an authentic rack, I'm still looking for one. Is the Motorola, and I knew you guys, I wanted to save this for last, is the Motorola Surfboard 6120. Now, before I bought this, I did a lot of research. I went to YouTube to see what all the hype was about DOS's 3.0. I've noticed some increments in connection As you can notice, my receive light is blue, which means I have a bonded connection. And the channel bonding basically means like taking like one connection like this and actually making them four. It has more channels, or even a better analogy is taking a road, and you basically have a one-lane road, and you're traveling. You have a bunch of cars traveling down a one-lane road. Well, those cars are stuck behind you, so it's congested. Well, what channel bonding is that opens that up to a four-lane freeway, and basically, like if you were having four separate connections, you would have four different freeways too. But that's what channel bonding does, is it will actually give you four lanes of highway to travel instead of just one single lane. So, and now I don't know if the send is supposed to be bonded. I think maybe eventually that will become bonded. Again, I'll have to do more research on this, because I don't have a clue on if this is supposed to turn blue along with this, or if they're just in one stage and eventually when they get to the other stages they'll turn that color too. But you can notice my link light is blue. I've had this modem for about 2 weeks now. The link light was orange before because I was only connected at 100, 10, 100, 100 full duplex, but now I'm connected at 1000 full duplex gigabit. This is the first cable modem I've had, and I've always had the surfboard family. I've gone from the 4100, which was really old, bought that brand new back in 2001, to the surfboard 5120, which I bought that 4 years later because the cable company said it was my fault when we had a cable issue one weekend. Ended up not being the case, it was their fault, because I went out and bought a new modem that day, hooked it up, still had the same problem, but I was able to take advantage of DOS's 2.0, and that definitely did speed up my connection. I was actually paying for a connection that I was overpaying for and not being able to utilize. So that's what that 5120 did for me, is it allowed me to utilize the connection I was paying for. Now the 3.0 is allowing me to utilize the connection I'm paying for. And I believe that, I'm not for certain on this, but DOS's 2.0 also allows certain channel bonding, but I never saw it on my modem. So when you go into the web portal of this, you actually see your bonded channels, and I have 4 channels. So the gigabit, it's not straight gigabit, it goes straight gigabit into the firewall here, but when it comes out it's 10/100. The only reason is I have 2 gigabit ports, and right now all this fiber right here, I'm waiting for another fiber optic card so that I can put it in my other computer upstairs and to the back of my house, so that I can free up a gigabit port, and then I can take this wire and plug it into the gigabit side, and we'll be pure gigabit all the way out. I don't know how much of a difference it's going to make, but time will tell. I know that switching over to fiber, even though it sounds very impractical for a residential user, I'm a geek, I'm a tech head, and it doesn't mean that you're not a tech head if you don't have this stuff. I just happen to enjoy, this is a hobby and it's also my career. I just enjoy having the corporate stuff, being able to test it and be able to, feel it and, play with it to see what it actually can do. Because in a corporate world, you go and work in somebody's business, you can't tear it apart, put it back together, but here I can, and that's kind of a nice factor. And the stuff like I said again, the fiber optic, if you buy older stuff, it's pretty cheap. Even new cables are really cheap. Here's another bundle that I got. It was just a little bit too long for the server, but it doesn't matter because it's actually, you're not restricted to length as much as you are with Ethernet. And another beautiful thing about the fiber optic is it's not susceptible to anything. That fluorescent light sitting over the cable right there, this cable is not being affected by it whatsoever because it's just purely light. That's the other side of the, and I know you guys didn't get to see the back side of the servers working the other day when I did the video, but so this is, it still needs a little bit tightening up, but going pretty good. Let me show you the interior of this other fiber optic switch that I have. This is a Netgear GS504. She's a little old, but she still does the job. I'll pull it up here for you. It's actually running right now. I should probably unplug it. But also I had an incident that happened and the cover is off for a reason. I bought this on eBay, which I bought it from a really good seller, and he also sold me that TreadNet fiber media converter. And what had happened essentially is this fan was cut. I don't know why. There was no connector, so I had to make a repair on it. So I soldered it and heat shrunk some tubing, but as you can see, there are really huge tubes on here. And I didn't have any smaller size tube. I used a smaller size tube more than anything else, so I ran out. But this is what the inside of a gigabit switch looks like. You have your chipsets right here, and then your lasers, and it gets very warm. These switches get very warm. So the cover is off because of the repair of the switch, but I haven't put it back on because, and I'll show you that in a second too, I haven't put it back on because I need to make a simple repair to the cover. There was holes drilled kind of like this, but they were drilled with like a regular drill, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to repair it. I'm going to put a fan grill over it and possibly an additional fan to keep that switch cool. And another reason what had happened to me, and I got the fan repaired and everything was going all hunky-dory, and all of a sudden I'm going to put the cover back on, forgot to unplug the power supply. I touched the metal top onto this live heat sink in the power supply, and it went poosh. Well, I thought I blew a transistor out. Well, lo and behold, the transistor is not metallic, so it doesn't operate doesn't do anything with the electricity off there. Inside there's a I don't know if you can see it. Let me see if I can get you some light. There you go. And if you can see this this little like brown thing down there, that's actually a fuse. I'm not the circuit board king. I mean, I know very few circuits. I mean, I can point them out, but that's not my line of business. I can't. I mean, I can repair the simplest things on a circuit board, but I can't get into complex things. And I never knew that was a fuse. So I took it over to my buddy. His name is Max Arcade, and he fixed this up for me. Max Arcade and I have been friends for, going back to the Stone Age. So we, and we actually got reunited back up on YouTube because I hadn't talked to him in so long. And so he fixed the power supply for me, put it back together, and she's running again. So I'm just waiting to do the top before I put the cover back on. And I'll probably also, I might even tap a fan into here. So it's got one over here, and I'll show you that cover here. I'm going to go ahead and unplug this right now, so bear with me here, and I'll keep you in the loop while I do it. It's a really good switch, by the way. I'm looking forward to, this is actually going to be going upstairs when I get the extra cards. I ended up getting a Netgear. I ended up getting a couple of Netgear cards that were really out of date, but I didn't know they worked well on Linux. So my Linux machine upstairs, I've already got fiber running to it. So I just took, one end of the fiber. This is the one that runs to the other end of the house into my office. This one runs into my office too. This cable runs the gigabit copper Ethernet. This runs the gigabit fiber Ethernet into my office up there. And this switch was such a good deal that I'm going to buy another one. I'm going to buy a second one and put it up here. So I can kind of expand the gigabit fiber a little bit. And it's really funny because going back in the day when I was still in high school, I actually got a full roll of Cat 5, which actually some of this Cat 5 right here, some of this is not even Cat 5e, it's just regular Cat 5 plenum grade Berktech cable. I don't even believe Berktech makes cable anymore. This had to be back in 1997, 1998, around that time frame. And some of this is the original Berktech cable. Probably all this blue cable is the original Berktech cable. And I had a neighbor that lived behind me, and we were going to actually run a Cat 5 from his house to my house and be able to network between that. And I thought that would be a fun idea. Now I look at the speed and I look at the reliability of fiber, and if I had like a relative or something that was like living in my same neighborhood, like adjacent to me or behind me or whatever, I could just run a nice link there and they could pay me half for my cable bill or half for my cable modem internet service, and they'd have extremely fast speeds because you just don't lose it. And another neat thing, I don't know if I mentioned this, I transferred the 600 meg file in less than, it was 2.5 seconds. So that was from this file server up to my Linux machine on the other end of the house. But the next time you see this, see the cables up there, I'm still not satisfied with the cabling. Some people might say it's alright. I'm still not satisfied with it, so I'll probably just clean it up a little bit more, and you can see the stockpile of fiber back there. I think I just gotta get it cleaned up a little bit more, clean it up down here in the basement. So I'm trying to do what I gotta do here.